Standing next to a man who I haven't seen since probably in person 2000 in Montreal. I don't know where this interview is going to go, but we will behave ourselves. How you been, my friend?
I'm hanging there doing good. Just so honored and excited that the UFC brought me back for this 20th anniversary. Of course, I miss it. Everybody misses it, but this is kind of gave me a little bit of energy being out here, and I'm real excited about the whole show. And Johnny Hendrix, St. Pierre, it's about as good as it gets.
You know, I saw you walking up the stairs, and the first thing I saw was that little gleam in your eye. When I see that gleam in the eye, I'd like to keep my distance because who knows what's going to happen if I could take it down on the ground. You're amped. You're very excited to be here. I mean, if you could step in the octagon, would you do it?
Of course, you know it was wrestling was my life, and then UFC became my life, and you don't. I realize you don't tell the sport when you're going to quit. It tells you pretty much when you're done, and I pretty much was done. If I wouldn't have had the hip replacement, honestly, I still think I might be doing some scrapping somewhere. But that it's very dangerous with a brand new hip. But my hip feels great, so I will never say never.
As I gently step away from the hammer, Mark Coleman, when he says something like that, do you ever look back and look at yourself in the third person and realize the fear that you used to instill in people, whether it was competitors or fans? Because when you used to walk to the cage, we knew things were going to get ugly.
Well, that was some good times. That's when I was paying my price, pay my dues, and you got to be lucky sometimes. Some good matchups for me back then, and I made work. My game plan, I made it work. Ground and pound. I visualized it, and fortunately back then it was very effective. It still can be, but it's much more difficult now with all the evolving these guys have done. They're amazing in all areas. So right time, right place at the right time. But I'm very proud that I really wanted to get back. When I left, my main goal was to get back in the UFC, and I held on long enough to get back there for them last 3 fights, and that was very important to me, to be part of the beginning and to still hang on and see what it was like at the end. And it was very neat both ways. Both times were very, very cool.
You make a really good point. As the godfather of ground and pound, do you see any of these youngsters right now that when you realize that they get on top of someone, it's lights out for their opponent?
Well, it's becoming a little bit of a lost art. It's the takedowns have nullified a lot of the ground game, and guys are so much better at getting off the bottom. And we have a lot of standing going on out there because they're that highly skilled. But there's still room for ground and pound.
Anyone that sticks out though?
Younger guys or just guys?
I mean, there's a guy behind us right now that's been knocking people standing up, but if he gets on top of someone.
Well, all these wrestlers are capable of ground and pound, but Johnny Hendrix, he made it clear if people aren't happy with what he's doing at a certain time, he can hear the crowd, he's going to change it. And ground and pound takes a lot of strategy, and sometimes, unless you're grounding and pounding, I didn't invent lay and pray, or I didn't invent nothing, but I never called it lay and pray. Ground and pound can be exciting, but I don't really like lay and pray. Stand them back up, let's get going.
Give us a little secret, because, I mean, in the gym when we're drilling ground and pound, you get pretty fatigued pretty quick. You never got tired when you were hammering people. What is it about you is it a wrestling thing that you guys just have it built in you to go once you get down on the mat?
Well, I embraced the grind for 25 years of wrestling. We had some grueling, long, hard workouts, but when I switched to fighting, I did get down on the ground and work my punches very hard from the ground. It's a different technique. There's no hips involved. It is all upper body. And I'd like to see somebody, when they go for the ribs, try to hurt them ribs a little bit. Instead of tapping it, hurt the ribs and come up and hurt the head. You know, that was my style. But like I said, nowadays these guys are pretty good on the bottom, and they're not going to be laying there flat just absorbing punches. So it's a lot more difficult. But Chael Sonnen, great ground and pounder. St. Pierre, great, smart ground and pounder. Hendrix could do it if he wanted to, but he chooses to throw that big left-hand bomb and carry him. It's carried him a long way, and I expect more of the same from him. But if he had to, he could get on top of somebody, and they wouldn't be getting up too easy.
I know there's no crystal ball in front of us, but if you could look at Saturday night's main event between George St. Pierre and Johnny Hendrix, how do you see that fight potentially unfolding? I know there's so many things that can happen in a fight, but how do you see it unfolding?
It's hard to tell. There's a lot of rumors about this and that. George is thinking retirement. So let's say they both came in super prepared, which they should be. I expect a great all-out war because St. Pierre's going to have to make some adjustments. Johnny's going to have to make some adjustments. St. Pierre's not going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to take this guy down that easy, so he's going to have to adjust. He's great on his feet as well, so everybody's going to have to make adjustments during the fight. So we'll see what happens in the end. I like both guys. I'm friends with both guys.
Let's close this off real quick. 20 years that the UFC's been around. You were a huge chapter, a very fearful chapter. I'll tell you right now, I remember when you used to fight, we were like, oh, this is going to be crazy. Mark Coleman fights. But it was really cool to see Royce Gracie come and join George St. Pierre here on the mats. You came up with Johnny Hendrix. A wonderful sort of acclamation by the UFC. But where do you see this sport in the next 20 years?
Well, hopefully with Dana White at in charge. I've always been impressed with what he can do. I love his straightforwardness, and he gets the job done. And I've always had confidence in him bringing it to as far as he did. And next 20 years, he's always said the sky's the limit, and he puts his mind to something. Let's keep it going bigger. Let's get it bigger. There ain't many problems to fix, but whatever problems there are to fix them, and let's take it up and compete with the NFL.
Any chance you and I leave right now and get on a plane to Montreal?
I'll stay away from Montreal for right now.
Thank you for your time, sir.
All right. Thank you.
There he is, the Hammer, Mark Coleman.